Oh, hi! Didn't see you over there. Since you stumbled across my daily dance with Conkydong over here to the DK rap. But I'm not really sure what you all are doing here, as this isn't really a road to the platinum video. Oh, I see. That's right, this is a trophy hunting video, only of the retro variety. RetroAchievements, which is a site aimed for lunatics like me that just must have that dopamine hit of unlocking a trophy when playing a game. This site have added trophies, or achievements as the name would say, to a bunch of retro games on basically every console you could think about. As long as the console you're thinking about is older than the Wii, though that will get support this year actually. Because you see, I was in a bit of a collectathon craze a while back, platinuming both Ukulele and SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. But that got me thinking about the most iconic 3D collectathons out there. And you can't get more iconic than the Rareware titles Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, and the game we will be mastering today, Donkey Kong 64. It feels weird to not call it a platinum. Yeah, I can't promise I won't call these trophies throughout the video. Force of habit, I guess. This game has gotten a lot of hate and a lot of praise over the years. I can only remember playing this as a little kid and having a blast with it. And then playing bits of it when it released on the Wii U Virtual Console, but never completing it again. To be fair, I don't even remember if I've ever gotten the coveted 101% completion. So I am excited to find out if the moniker of the collectathon genre killer is justified, or just an exaggeration to spark a discussion. We start off with King K. Rool strolling in on an island shaped like himself, wanting to blow up DK Isle, an island shaped like us, Donkey Kong. We are warned by Squawks that he's here, and that he has stolen all our friends and bananas, and off we go. You don't really play these games for the story, but I will comment on it when it's necessary. For now, we need to learn the ropes of the game, quite literally, as one of the tutorials we are forced to complete by Cranky, the mad scientist that helps us unlock moves in this game, is to swing from a rope. We also need to swim, climb some trees, and throw some bombs. Guessing there's a reference I'm not getting here, since I haven't watched the old cartoon, so if you know what the trophy name refers to, please leave it in the comments. And no, it is not a typo. We have 128 trophies to get through, which is even more than all of the trophies from the backlog video combined. So I hope you have your popcorn ready. With a new skill set in tow, it is time to enter DK Isle, the hub world of this game that connects all the other levels and holds various collectibles and trophies for us to pick up. This is also where we first meet K. Lumsy, K. Rool's younger brother, that is trapped for refusing to take part in the Kremlin invasion. And for the crime of being a pacifist and showing compassion, he must be punished. Which surprisingly works out well for us, as every time we bring a key from defeating a boss, he will quite literally jump with joy, creating such tremors that the road to the next level will be unlocked. Here, just the mere mention of us helping him is enough to open the way to Jungle Japes. And as luck would have it, it shows us our first golden banana needed to get past B Locker and into the level. I love Jungle Japes. This just feels Donkey Kong. The amazing music composed by Grant Kirkhope, the vertical level design, the main area, and the branching paths that just alter the entire feel of a level. The first thing we see as we enter this place is that Diddy is captured. And let me just glaze this level even more. Because in order to free Diddy, we have to hit 3 switches that spawns over 3 entryways. This is an excellent way of allowing the player to explore and get familiar with the various sections of the level. And not only are we rewarded with a golden banana, but we're also rewarded with a friend that is finally back to kick some tail. In order to hit all these switches, we need to talk with Funky Kong to learn how to use our coconut gun that can fire in spurts. And when I shoot ya, it's gonna hurt. Sorry, it's just such a bop. In addition to the coconut gun for DK, Diddy got his peanut gun. Funky isn't the only helper that shows up in this level, as Cranky is here as well. teaching Diddy how to use his noggin for something useful, and DK how to shoot himself out of a cannon. Equipping both DK and Diddy with firearms and their first abilities is all part of the starter kit. Each Kong in the level has 5 golden bananas to collect. 4 of them comes from a challenge of some sort, and 1 comes from defeating the correctly colored Kasplat to get a blueprint that we can trade for a golden banana with Snivy. These blueprints will come in handy much later in the game, so we'll get back to those later. But the golden banana are very needed right here, right now. They can be gotten from transforming into Rambi to destroy some crates and hitting switches, or for doing some timed platforming challenges with wonky cameras. The lovely folks at RetroAchievements have also added some extra challenges to some of these bananas. In this level, we are introduced to a reoccurring challenge in getting enough coins in a challenge level before crossing the finish line. Jungle Japes has a minecart obstacle course that Diddy needs to get through. In order to get the banana, we need to collect 50 coins. But in order to get the trophy, we need 72. There are more than enough coins here, but if we get hit by any of the obstacles or enemies in the track, we lose 3 of them. As this is the first challenge level, getting the banana isn't a problem at all. But as I still got used to the controls, I needed a couple of attempts where I finally was able to get the required amount of coins. DK doesn't really have any particular interesting bananas in this level, and Diddy we just went through. So suddenly I had all of their respective 5 bananas for this level. And this is how the theme for all of the Kong goes for all levels. So just know that I will only highlight the important stuff and show that we pop these at the end of a level. Before tackling the boss of this area, I made sure I had all the 100 colored bananas for each of the 2 Kongs we have and all their colored banana coins. Unfortunately, we can't get any trophies for that yet, as we're still missing the 3 Kongs, but I wanted to make sure we were 100% completed before finishing up this level. This is also when I decided to make my life easier and do the most nerdy thing I could think of by creating an Excel spreadsheet to track all the coins in the level and how much I had spent on upgrades. I used this to make sure I always knew which Kong was missing coins, as I only had the overall score from the retro achievement tracking. Man, I'm such a nerd. And this is when it's a perfect time to praise the retro achievement team for the wonderful integration into the emulators. I'm playing this on RetroArch, and seeing the track of how many coins or bananas I have in the bottom right corner, the indication of active challenges, and the achievement pop-up in the corner with a satisfying sound effect is amazing. It's not only in RetroArch. When I played Wind Waker earlier in the Dolphin emulator, the experience was just as good. So a big shout out to all your amazing work. And with the praise out of the way, it's time to face the boss of the area, Armadillo. Another recurring challenge is to defeat all the bosses without being hurt. And yes, I mean every boss in the game. This boss is for me iconic. I have childhood memories of this thing rolling around, and it has a fairly simple attack pattern, meaning that after I got some stupid damage a couple of times for being too impatient and having Stormtrooper aim at times, I defeated the Singulata Jarheadum that was unfit for service. Our reward is a key for the Lumsy Cage, and as he bounces around, he knocks down the door to Angry Aztec. A desert level filled with a couple of different temples and plenty of challenges. These temples are the points of interest, and unfortunately I must say that the over-reliance on them actually makes the level a bit harder to navigate than it needs to be. We need to move around a lot in this level and must go in and out as different Kongs plenty. So I did spend some unnecessary time trying to remember if this was the direction to the Llama Temple or the road to the 5 Kong Temple. With that out of the way though, let's get into the new Kongs we meet here. Because the game is trying to rush out all of our Kong friends. We got Diddy in the last one, but here, with a skip and a hop, and Diddy's chimpy charge ability, we unlock Tiny. And the monkey that has no style, no grace, and a funny face, Lanky is found in the aforementioned Llama Temple, behind another coconut gate that DK can get to. This is also where I want to talk about an important decision that I had to do when going for the mastery. At the time I went for this, the Tag Anywhere mod was a valid version to go for the mastery on. I however decided on doing the vanilla version. This is probably the last time I would go for 101%, and most likely the last time I will play vanilla DK64. in the future I'll probably play randomizers, and that includes the tag anywhere mod. So I wanted the intended vanilla version with all the tedious backtracking and all for one last time. However, I did try for a bit when playing this level, and I definitely see the appeal of it, as it was such a quality of life to be able to switch out at any time. But I felt mastery should be gotten on the version I played on as a child, you know? It must be noted though, that now the tag anywhere mod isn't allowed to use when going for achievements, so it wouldn't even be a topic of discussion had I gone for this now. Anyways, as we now have 4 out of the 5 Kongs, that means more bananas and more abilities to get. New to this level is the candy shop, where Candy Kong sells us a powerful weapon, the music instrument. Seriously, these things can clear an entire room full of enemies and trivializes some of the combat challenges as it takes out anything. All of these are iconic. DK gets his bongos, Diddy his electric guitar, Lanky gets the trombone, and Tiny gets the tuba. The characteristics of all these Kongs are starting to shine through, and an excellent touch is how the instruments are incorporated into their tag barrel music, making their personalities shown there as well. Funky is here, giving Tiny her feather crossbow and Lanky the great blowgun, and Cranky gives them new abilities, notably the rocket barrel for Diddy, hands down for Lanky, and the mini monkey ability for Tiny. Speaking of the rocket barrel, it's a pain in the ass to handle, as you will see better in later missions. But the introduction course gave me a fake sense of security as I did this lap around the desert my first try. Lanky doesn't have any super special bananas to make note of here, but it highlights some of the cooperation between monkeys, as his Kasplat blueprint is inside the room only accessible by Tiny and available for Lanky after she has opened the banana port in there. One thing this level introduces are the bonus barrel missions. These are something we'll see all over the game, for better or worse. This can either be a quick minigame like a slot machine or keeping snake spinning turtles, or they can be longer like we'll see here, because DK has a custom retro achievement banana tied to one of these missions. Here we need to make it to the finish line of a maze without being spotted by a guard, and we need to do this with at least 20 seconds to spare. Some funky hitboxes and a few runs, but overall pretty straightforward once I knew the route and remembered to do Donkey Kong's rolling move, as that gives him extra speed. Tiny, however, has one of the worst achievements in this entire game coming up. Anyone who has played this game is very familiar with this beetle. This sadistic creature commands us to race it to the bottom of a large slide whilst picking up coins along the way. Just getting the golden banana requires 50 coins, which is a challenge in and of itself, but to get the trophy we need 60. And when I tell you this is agony, I mean that this is agony. It will start a bit before you gain control. It will rubber band like hell if you get too far in front of it, and if it touches you, you will lose 3 coins. The stage wants to throw you off the edge, and if you don't have enough momentum at the end, you will lose the foot race even if you have enough coins. I swear, I spent like an hour on this until I figured out the strategy. Like I mentioned, it has super rubber banding, so for me, staying behind it and taking it slow was the best way to make sure I got enough coins and avoided hitting it. Going slow also meant that I had less risk of flying off the stage. At the end of the track, there's a ramp that we can use to speed ourselves up to get in front and then time and do a jump to preserve momentum from the slide to get a head start, and then the final kicker is to actually be a kicker. Because if we hit the beetle, it will be momentarily stunned. So by doing dash attacks and some normal attacks as I panicked, I managed to finally beat this monstrosity. And soon after, add all of Tiny's other bananas as well. Yes! Ooh, boy. With all the available coins, golden and colored bananas, it's time to take on the boss of the area. A big dragon type enemy for Diddy to battle. And this for me, almost as iconic as the first boss. This one flies around, shooting out fireballs before settling down, allowing me to throw a bomb barrel at it. And this is really all about timing, knowing when to turn and when to run. So I took a few stupid hits, and since we once again have the hitless challenge, this took a few retries. Thankfully, it is quick to enter and the boss fight ain't long, so just like that, Odonata Azteques came crashing down. Before tackling the next world, we have some overworld stuff we need to get to. A big part of this game is the banana fairies that so far have been hidden from us. We have seen their location, we have just been unable to do anything with it. That all changes now as Tiny can shrink down and meet the fairy queen that gifts us with the camera needed to send her friends back to her as film. How does this even work? Like, are we mailing her the Polaroids or something? These fairies are part of some trophies coming up, but they are also part of upgrading the amount of consumables we can hold, like film, bombs and crystal coconuts. We'll actually see more of them in the level coming up as we head into the Frantic Factory. This is, I think, my favorite level in the game. It's fairly simple to navigate because of the landmark heavy design, with a big machinery to the left, R&D department to the right that is just past the giant toy block tower, and then the connecting control room that we spawn in. And then there's Chunky.
He's dead.
Nah, he was just stuck in a cage, so the biggest baddest ape of them all have finally been set free, and he's ready to go. Or not. I love how we fight for your attention, and as soon as you're about to select him in the tag barrel, he panics and points to Tiny for us to pick her instead. If we move away, he sighs in relief. I have touched upon it earlier, but the reason why I love this game is because of the personalities of these characters, and Chunky is just the cherry on top. He's just a timid guy that is misunderstood because of his size. Unfortunately for him, he has to get into the action here, because the big machinery I spoke of earlier is something we have to scale. In fact, we have to scale the tower in 43 seconds or less. We typically have 99 to get the banana, but to get the trophy, we need to have 56 seconds to spare. And I was ready for a struggle, but by using a shortcut at the beginning by jumping across the gap, and a combination of locking in and beginner's luck, I nailed this seemingly daunting task first try, with about a second to spare. This tower however signals the biggest drawback of the game, which is the backtrack. I will mention it later on as well, but having to trek up this tower for each of the 5 Kongs, even if it's teleporting up there, gets really old really fast. Chunky also needs to go ability shopping and gets his Pineapple Bazooka, Primate Punch, Hunky Chunky, and of course his signature Triangle. Seriously, how could you not love this dude? Of course the rest of the gang gets some moves on their own this level as well. Tiny, having gotten a taste of the coin gathering in the Beetle race, decides that this level needs to have a similar challenge. Luckily this one is much simpler, as we have to beat a toy car in a much shorter race, collecting 16 coins. And to top it off, we can cheat, as we have torpedoes to stop the toy car in its track. Still, it was a bit tricky getting the timing of switching lanes to get all the coins, so I won't brag about a first try attempt, but I feel like getting it second try is respectable. The biggest hurdle of this level, and one I struggled on for a couple of hours, was the Donkey Kong arcade minigame. Anyone who has played this game before knows what I'm talking about and feels my pain. Playing the original arcade game is not only something that yields a golden banana for DK, but it's literally required for beating the game, as it rewards us with a Nintendo coin. That in and of itself took me about an hour, but I didn't just need to beat this game twice. No. I needed to grind out a third win where I needed to hit the score of 30,000. That meant rushing the levels to get the time bonus, doing as many insane jumps as Mario Jumpman Mario to get points, picking up all the collectibles and murdering as many barrels and flames using the hammer. A tool that doesn't make you invisible like I thought it did. Dying in this arcade is so easy. Falling 10 centimeters, death. A rogue bouncy pad, death. A sneaky flame, death. Forgetting to jump when taking out a nail, death. Death all around. But at the end of the day, I got the God Run, and I knew that as long as I got to the final segment with an extra life, I could grind the points. I lost the extra life early in 100 meters, but But after locking in and grinding flames with a hammer, I got the final nail and a high score of 29,800. My heart sinks. Then my heart bounces, as after RetroAchievements locks my score, I end up getting the time bonus, which takes me past the 30k mark and gives me my achievement. Whilst running around, I get to finally try out my camera by snapping a picture of the 2 banana fairies that is in this level. The final collectible I haven't really mentioned so far are the battle crowns in each level. These challenges task us with surviving in a battle arena for X amount of seconds before being rewarded with a crown, and together with snapping a pic of the 2 fairies in each level, they award a trophy. In here, I need to survive 2 Kremlings and a Kasplat. For the most part, this is easy, but as we'll see later, we are gonna have some challenges there. But by beating this arena, I unlock my 28th achievement. Only 100 more to go. Luckily, we get to do a quick jump here, as there are no more trophy related bananas, so it doesn't take me long until I have all 5 Kong's 5 golden bananas. One of these bananas were for Beaver Bottom, and I feel pretty good about myself managing to do the hardest bonus barrel minigame on my first try at the last possible second. How naive I was back then. Seeing as I now have all the Kongs in this game, I can finally hunt down all of their colored coins and all other colored bananas in a level. Seriously, I'm so glad I had my Excel document, because if not, tracking which Kong was missing coins would have been dreadful. With all collectibles out of the way, I unfortunately have to say goodbye to this amazing level. But not before Tiny gets to take on the most unique boss fight so far, a giant Jack-in-the-Box. And you know the deal by now. We have to jump across these platforms in the air, and luckily falling down doesn't damage us. Shocking ourselves do, however, as it takes a minute for me to realize the gimmick of this one. It jumps and lands on either a blue or a white tile, and 2 switches spawn, one on white and one on blue. And of course, if you hit the blue one, you shock the blue tiles. So just don't do like me, and make sure if you're standing on a blue tile, don't hit the blue switch. And when I get far enough into it, he starts shooting lasers and has this predictive aiming, where he shoots where he thinks you'll jump to. So of course I then get sniped right at the finish line. A run later I get lucky, however, as the button spawns right next to me when he's at his final stage, both shooting lasers and being invisible. This makes me take down the hardest boss fight so far by a mile, the Ludarka Insanus in another shift at the old banana factory. Before moving on to the 4th world, we have a lot of things just open up to us. First and foremost, we have all the Kongs and the fairy camera at our disposal. And that means that we can return to both Jungle Japes and Angry Aztec to snap pictures of the lost fairies. Which, can I just say, some of these fairies are so hard to get a good picture of. They are just zooming all over the place. We can also now pick up Chunky's coins and colored bananas in Aztec, and Chunky, Tiny and Lanky get their coins and colored bananas in Japes. Now, there's a lot that can be said about having to basically go through a level 5 times in order to get every collectible. And I'll agree that that part is tedious and a form of backtracking I'm not really a big fan of. But what I am a fan of is how the backtracking to a previous levels with the new Kongs feel. Because coming back to Japes and being able to explore a completely new area for Chunky and Tiny, finally seeing what is on top of the steep hill that we couldn't access earlier, and finally see what's under the giant X that tempted me right from the beginning, was an excellent experience. They really nailed the sense of exploration in these earlier levels. They might have gone a bit overboard in stuff like Crystal Caves and Gloomy Galleon, as we'll soon see, but here it is really perfection. And I like how Tiny has her own little area only she can go to. Chunky gets to use his Hunky Chunky to get to a minecart minigame that will become much more important later. Lanky, well, he still has a funny face, even if his golden bananas aren't anything to write home about here. Suffice to say, Jungle Japes keeps winning, even when getting the remaining 15 golden bananas. We got most of the things in Aztec the first time around, so Chunky doesn't have to do too much to get his final 5. Before progressing further though, we have 2 missable trophies to get to. so it was time to turn on my A game. Well, for one of them at least. The first one just required me remembering that the trophy existed, because at the top of the entrance to Angry Aztec is a dirt patch. Normally you're supposed to use a rocket barrel that we can spawn in by playing the trombone, but by placing a giant rocket chunky perfectly along the wall and backflipping in a precise location as Diddy, we're barely able to get to the top and being rewarded with the trophy. Inside the entrance to Angry Aztec, but before actually entering the level, we can spawn a bonus game barrel for Tiny. We could spawn in this barrel earlier, but we couldn't actually reach it before we got the necessary ability for Tiny in Factory. This barrel contains the Bug Bash minigame, requiring us to squat an annoying fly 8 times in 60 seconds. It's quite frankly super annoying and one of my least favorite minigames here. But not the worst. Not the worst by a long shot. It takes some time getting used to learning the moveset and the hitbox of the swatter, but that is when the real kicker kicks in yet again. We need to do this in half the time, as the trophy requires us to have at least 30 seconds left on the timer. This one took some grinding and getting used to, but by basically spawn camping it, we eventually became the Fly Swatter Supreme. We have now completed 3 worlds and therefore gotten 15 banana medals. These medals are given when a Kong finds 75 of their colored bananas in a given level. This is important because Cranky said he had something for us when we hit that magic number. On our way to where this game started, we stop in DK's hut, as entering and exiting starts the condition for the floor is lava, which tells us to get on top of Cranky's lab without touching the ground. I tried doing this as DK as we started the game, but came nowhere close. So instead, I used Tiny to float between the treetops, landing on this convenient ledge that didn't count as the ground, and could then float over to his house. His big gift is that he found an arcade machine, more specifically the arcade for Jetpack, one of Rare's earliest games. And just like the Donkey Kong arcade, we need to beat this to beat the actual game. Luckily for us, actually getting the required score for the rare coin, and more importantly for the trophy, is so much easier here, as we can basically camp in the corner and no enemy will touch me there. But as I surpassed the needed score, I decided to play for a legit score for the leaderboards, but die quickly as I'm actually not very good at this one. That is another part I want to praise from RetroAchievements. Having leaderboards to compete on is another way of encouraging playing these games in a way you normally wouldn't do. I will say though that some of these scores can only be attempted once, which makes it a bit nerve-wracking and hard to actually compete, but they're pretty fun to challenge myself on. Still fairly proud of being ranked 46 out of the 3,490 people that has done the Ninja Warrior 1 challenge in Wind Waker at the time of writing. I'm even beating out one of my favorite streamers on that leaderboard. Now let's get back to the levels. This is Gloomy Galleon, the water world that always ends up being everyone's favorite in any and all video game. This level is split into 3 parts. The cave you start in that connects you to the 2 water areas. On one side you have a theme of the deep ocean, with a giant lighthouse, deep waters and sunken treasures. The other side has a theme of the dangers of the ocean, a sunken pirate ship, a sunken submarine thing and debris just floating around. The big gimmick of this world is lowering and raising the water to get access to the parts of the level and to utilize Engard, a swordfish that for some reason only Lanky can turn into? The level design is starting to lose the cohesiveness, for a lack of a better word, and this one is just big. But it's empty and lacking a sense of connectivity. I think had this level just been a cave and one big water area that housed all the different components, then the level would have felt so much better to run around in. There aren't any big new moves for us to find here either. But Candy shows up again and upgrades our instruments and gives us more melons. One thing I haven't really talked too much about is the baboon blast that most levels have, which sees DK fly up in the sky and use rockets to navigate a maze-like puzzle where we need to hit the correct barrels to get to the finish line. Often whilst also getting coins and colored bananas on our way. Finishing. How did you miss that badly? Oh my lord. Okay. For real this time. Getting to the finish line frees the seal that challenges his savior to a race. And I never played Wave Racer, but DK gets a taste of the life as we hop on a watercraft and beat this seal. You should probably have picked up on the fact that every level has a coin gathering trophy at this point. And this race is Galleon's Hurdle, where we need to collect 15 coins, which isn't that big of a number here. However, we add another twist as we need to reach the finish line without missing a single checkpoint gate. And this seal is miserable. Just like most of these races, it has a serious case of rubber banding, but it keeps pushing me out of the way. Stop it! Oh, wow, I am losing my cool here. But controlling this boat is so hard, especially when you have a seal that plays unfair. Luckily, I soon got on a run where I could outmaneuver this bastard. I didn't really learn a strategy, I just got lucky and took my time in the beginning to outsmart the rubber banding. And finally, we swept the seal. Finally, Lanky gets some love in the bonus trophy category, as he needs to beat the bonus game Searchlight Seek with 45 seconds to spare. AKA, beat this game in 15 seconds. The game in question is to hit the claptrap that is roaming around in the dark with a melon, and we need to hit it 4 times. Luckily this one pretty much at the same place every time, so I am able to spawn camp them. And I am even more lucky as I hit the last one on the dot, just as the timer hit 45 seconds. But I guess you need some luck to get a minigame trophy first try. This level actually holds a lot of great bananas for the Kongs to get. Talking extensively about them all would make this like a 3-hour long video. Believe it or not, but I'm trying to get better at making shorter videos. Even though it seems that this video will not be one of them. But some highlights from this level includes finding some missing pearls for the mermaid as Tiny. Second time around that Tiny has been tasked by a queen to find something she lost. If I had a nickel and all that. The lighthouse comes into play as once DK turns it on, a pirate ship appears. And by boarding it as Chunky, we get to enjoy Drunky Chunky. And importantly, Diddy needs to enter a mechanical fish. This is important because this banana flags the Get All Bananas as Diddy trophy as missable for this level. This is because if we get a later gun upgrade, it will generate so much lag that it's basically impossible. Luckily, I do this now, and after a failed attempt by not knowing how this was supposed to be done, I get it no problem. And just like that, all of the golden bananas in this level is gotten. On the banana hunt, we of course find the battle crown and the 2 fairies. One which was so aggravating trying to snap a photo of, because of these stupid bars on the cell in the sunken pirate ship. Like I said, these are surprisingly hard at times to get a picture of. Also, this bonus barrel for Diddy gets to hold the proud status of being the 100th golden banana we pick up. Now would you look at that, halfway done with the trophies. Maybe take some time to stretch your legs now and get some more refreshments. Maybe a nice cup of tea or some sushi. Because we're about to fight the boss of this area and I want to make sushi out of him once I'm done here. Lanky gets the honor this time around, and he also gets the honor of hopping onto the watercraft as this giant puffish shoots fireball and tremors towards us. And how do we combat this? By using this hard to control boat to run through hoops in order to activate this force field around it and shock it. And to make it worse, there's a timer. And to make it even worse, this boss has 5 phases. And to make it even worse, each phase shrinks the hoop and decreases the timer. In the final round, we have 10 seconds to thread the needle, a real test of focus and risk management. And of course, this all needs to be done without taking damage. But after a few attempts, lost right at the finish line, Tetradonite Gloomicus is taken down by the hoverboat Havoc. There aren't many miscellaneous trophies to get before the next level this time around. There is a big one where we need to do some sequence breaking. Basically performing a glitch to get a banana fairy much earlier than we are expected to. The next level we unlock is Fungi Forest, and in front of the entrance is a rocket barrel for Diddy. We're expected to use this to get some bananas and the out of logic rainbow coin we got earlier, but by flying to the top of the skybox, Aligning ourselves with the leftmost tooth of K. Rool's ship and Prage, we can barely manage to faceplant at the edge of the platform once the game takes away our rocket by going to a place we aren't really supposed to be in. You know this isn't intended by the way the camera is freaking out, but a huge shout out to Shinjimings for this video, giving a perfect setup for becoming the Krem ship Clamber. And with that out of the way, the fungi forest awaits. This level feels like a Banjo-Kazooie level, because that's what it was supposed to be at one point, before being ditched and reused for this game. The gimmick here is a day-night cycle that unfortunately ends up being a hindrance rather than a cool mechanic. To change the time of day, you need to climb the tree in the hub of the level, and that will change what you have access to in the 3 spokes connected to the hub. Again, the scope of these levels are getting too big, and getting turned around is getting easier and easier, making exploration more and more tedious. Knowing how to get to the abandoned barn, the tall mushroom, giant beanstalk, or the owl race was confusing at times. The lack of a visual style in between these areas made exploration such a struggle. And I will say this now, it doesn't get much better unfortunately. This level is also special, as it holds the missing rainbow coin. A coin that seemingly no one knew existed for years, until it was stumbled upon and confused an entire community. It is fairly hidden in the grass, so I can see it being hard to notice that you're suddenly standing on top of some dirt. It is starting to become apparent that the developers were running out of ideas for upgrades at this point, because whilst Funky gives us homing ammo that can be situationally useful, Cranky just upgrades our butt stump move to have a new color, allowing us to hit new switches. Nothing that alters our movement or gameplay capabilities in any way, shape or form, just a key for progression. Tiny has gotten a lot of love from the Retro Achievement team making this set, as she has had a lot of challenge trophies to get. And this level is no exception. Inside the barn we can enter a hole in the wall and get treated to a rare mini-boss. Not something this game has done a lot up until this point, but you know, a boss is a boss, so we need to do this hitless. We need to shoot a spider in the eye and defeat her children, I guess? And would you look at that? The game saw me doing too well and just spawned the boss on top of me after a cutscene, making me lose when the boss was quite literally one hit from dead. I got it in 2 tries though. Diddy, having not had a challenge trophy since Jungle Japes, finally get a new challenge. Inside one of the abandoned barns is a maze with no light. You're meant to summon squawks holding a light, but you can also get the sliders of light by shooting the peanut gun. So by stocking up, having max ammo, we start sneaking over the planks. One small mistake and it's instant death. The most irritating part was actually having to hunt down ammo when I died and had too little ammo left for another run. But with a peanut left in both barrels, I got to the end on a prayer. I'm absolutely noticing a step up in difficulty on some of these bonus barrels, but that also adds a layer of fun to them. Case in point, the next trophy for DK, where we are in the minecart mayhem that we played back in Japes. This time with more carts going around the arena, and where we have to hold in the boost button from the very beginning until the end of the timer. And just look at us, we're zooming around. I found figuring out the strategy for when to switch lanes and manipulating the enemy AI to take as long as possible to reach me such a fun challenge. This one is one of the greater ones. I wish more of the bonus games Rare made for this game was like this minigame. Having now sampled all of them, I can safely say that I enjoyed, I think, 3, maybe 4 of them? Minecart Mayhem, Mad Maze Mall where you need to take down all enemies, Speedy Wing Sorting because it's over quickly, and then I guess Stash Snatch where you need to collect coins in a maze as it causes some tense moments. Notice that all of these are the ones where you have control over movement and autonomy over the character. So many of these are just shooting something, press A or deal with the poorly programmed stuff. And since so many of the golden bananas are tied to these quite frankly awful minigames, I was faced with more dread than joy when I saw that my reward for finishing an actual puzzle was to play one of these bonus games. We aren't done quite yet with the bonus challenges though, because we haven't talked about the coin minigame for this level. and we have another minecart race. This time it's Chunky that gets the thrill of going down a crypt, collecting coins, and it takes me a bit too long to realize that I control these gates by hitting the switches in the ceiling. They're even color coordinated, so good on you for that, game. The trick here is hitting switches and levers to get on the path with the most money, and remembering that you can speed up or down to get past certain dangers quicker. I like this one a lot, and some trial and error later, we get her done. We also meet this rabbit. All my homies hate this rabbit. In order to get Lanky's golden banana, we need to come back later with an upgrade to beat the second race. A new form of backtracking I'm glad the game didn't force me to do more of after this one. Also in this area is that stupid owl that didn't need to race using the rocket barrel. And if you thought I did too good on the one in the Aztecs, I can reassure you that I struggled hard with this one. And as we clean up the remaining golden bananas here, I must mention how much I adore the naming of the trophies associated with getting them. Puns and callbacks to the challenges we did to get them is so clever. I seriously recommend having a look at these yourself over at RetroAchievements. Or just appreciating them as they pop up on the screen. The name of trophies is one of my favorite parts of hunting on this side. Not much else to say about Fungi trophy wise though. Only thing I couldn't get was all of Lanky's bananas because of that stupid rabbit. As this is the 5th world, it means the 5th Kong to join finally gets a boss fight. And he gets the rematch against Dogadon. Rare was really grasping at straws here, weren't they? Hey, at least we get to see more of Timid Chunky, so that's a win in my book. Luckily, this starts off where Diddy's ended, and adds a few more attacks to his repertoire. Like this giant wall of flame that takes me ages to realize how to dodge, and even longer to get the timing of dodging the wall and get to the bomb before it takes flight again. Once that was done though, we get to activate Hunky Chunky and partake in a good old fisticuff scramble. Where of course we managed to float like a dragonfly, sting like a chunky, to squash the bug one final time, sending Odonata Shrubikorum to meet a golem fate. Giving this key to Lumsey opens both the 6th and 7th world, meaning that we have basically all worlds available to us, meaning that we can go around and collect the final rainbow coins of DK Isle to finish our ape fortune. We're starting to see the finish line, and this was the only overworld trophy for this time, so onwards to Crystal Caves. And what to say about this level? It contains multiple blocked off parts, either behind breakable walls or inside igloos here and there. It has rooms gated by playing your instruments, and it's very reliant on using the banana port pads to get Kongs around. Overall, it's okay. Okay minus, I would say. It's better to navigate than Fungi Forest in my opinion, but it's a far cry from the first 4 worlds. The focus on more vertical navigation probably helped, but I will say that trying to remember which teleport paths led where and how to get certain Kongs to certain locations were a pain. And another example of the 5 Kong system of exploring the level 5 different times not working well as a gameplay system. Luckily the music here is serene and calm, so that made exploration Oh no, why would you go and ruin the music like that? Yeah, the big challenge of this level is not to find and take him down, but instead to get 100% completion of the level, or at least as close to as possible, without taking him down. Meaning that every so often we will get interrupted and must dodge some stalactites. More a nuisance than anything else, as I quite like the level theme here. All of our friends show up in this level. Funky gives us more ammo, Candy gives her a 3rd melon, and Cranky has some upgrades for everyone, besides DK and Diddy. Tiny gets her own special teleport pad, Funky can channel his timidness to become invisible, and Lanky can now run really fast in a handstand, probably fast enough to beat a rabbit. With these newfound abilities, Lanky enters the Crystal Castle only to be greeted by an old friend, the Beetle, has come to visit. And once again we have a race, and once again we need coin. Surprisingly not again, there is no trophy here. So just managing to beat it, which turned out hard but not as hard as the Aztec race, is enough to get the banana. Actually, there's only one retro achievement banana challenge in this level, and that is for surviving the rotating spike trap inside an igloo as DK. Honestly, just getting through this would have been hard, but we need to do it without taking damage. Probably an oversight by the developers not putting an invincible DK barrel in here, because the hitboxes and camera control on this is really funky. Luckily, if I die, I just restart in this room, so it's a quick retry if I fail this. And fail this a lot, I do. But after many attempts, I learned when to turn, when to brake, and when to go full steam ahead. It's honestly the beginning that is the most difficult, as there are a couple of really tight turns, and the hitboxes, like I said, is ass. But after much dismay, the really strong Kong prevailed. The developers of this set probably took pity on us, because this level is where the difficulty of all bonus games really pick up. Like this Rambo style minigame where we need to shoot like a mother trucker in order to take down the Kremlings that spawn fast and plentiful. Or this one where we need to shoot a banana that spawns in and not hit the Kongs. The window in which I can hit this banana is so small, it's not even funny. I suspect that this might be a case of Rare designing with lag in mind. I know for a fact that in Banjo-Tooie they are syncing the music with the cutscenes by compensating for the native N64 lag, so it might have been programmed like this here as well. I ended up having to pause buffer for this one to even have a fighting chance. Hopefully it won't be worse than this going forward. Other than that really hard bonus games, the theme of this level are tile puzzles. So many of the golden bananas are gotten by flipping tiles, either in a memory game or in a competition. But the best of all, the rabbit is gonna get what's coming for him as he's somehow tied to a bomb. What is that? We need to actually rescue him? Fine, I don't think I want to do this or anything. Yeah, there really isn't anything else of note happening here. The only trophy I can't get is the one for all the coins, as Kosha is standing on top of a rainbow coin. The golden bananas aren't anything special here. I am however feeling the constant switching between Kongs starting to get tedious at this point, since so many parts now require me to go back and forth. But once all bananas are gotten, I make sure to use Snide to convert blueprints to bananas to get as close to 100% completion before fighting the boss. Which is once again DK's fight. And he gets the rematch of the century as Armadillo is back in action. With some trickier attacks for sure, he has a bigger gun, more things to dodge, and I swear a tighter window to throw the bomb during. To top it off, the final part is him sending out a homing missile that I foolishly run into a couple of times. Made even worse that I keep missing the final throw. But once I get past my skill issue, I can get the ultra rare free for the price of 1 grandma as I take down the Singulata Brassica for dishonorable discharge and get the 100% completion with Kosha still alive. Meaning that I can finally restore the serene background music by picking up the final coin of the level. We actually have quite a few things to get done before the next and final level. For instance, we have that stupid rabbit we need to rematch in Fungi Forest. And as we start, do you see an issue here? Yeah, the crystals are counting down. Meaning that if we run out, we need to go grind and find new ones laying around. I don't get why though. It's not like the game has done this before. When in a challenge like this, you get infinite of the resource. Diddy did it with the rocket barrel challenge with the owl in this very location. The reason this becomes a problem is because just one small mistake and it's over. No possible way of catching up. Like missing the barrel at the beginning, which is very easy to do, as the hitboxes of it is really funky. It's such a tight window to beat this abomination that even when literally playing perfect, I just barely managed to win. Again, the problem here isn't that it's hard, it is that it's hard when depleting a resource that it's hard to come by, making it more frustrating than a challenge. At least, the rabbit is conquered. Back on DK Isle, we can finally start popping some of the trophies for getting all 5 of the Kong's golden bananas on the isle. Because of course there will be bananas here as well. And when delivering the key from the caves to Lumsey, we can finally get Lanky's golden banana that's been taunting us this entire game by getting to it in 8 seconds or less. And by rocketing to the top of the isle and escorting some fairies to safety, Diddy completes his collection. This is also when we would have been able to get that fairy we sequence breaked for naturally. But it's also when the battle arena of the isle becomes available, and by surviving the minute as Chunky, we reap the riches of the archipelago. The fairies that we've been collecting has another use outside of giving us small upgrades to our inventory size. They also unlock things outside of the game, like a boss rematch mode, where you can replay the fights against the bosses that we didn't manage to beat hitless the first time around. Not that I have any need for that though. Or they unlock some new extra minigames we can partake in, as Rambi or Engard. The Engard level is pretty simple. We need to swim around the pool, passing and jumping through hoops to score points. This was fairly simple, as we need 200 points and the track was laid out in such a way that you knew which path to take to score the most points, and by just swimming around the circles, we end up getting this one. The Rambi game, however, was a struggle. We need to run over beavers to score points. Blues are worth 2 and golden are worth 10. And by hitting multiple at the same time, we can get a multiplier to increase the score. And this was rough. The time was super tight and the beavers were a bother like ever before. They were spread out, so getting combos were so hard, and the timer was ticking down way too quickly. I think it has something to do with the emulation of the game. So I went into the settings for RetroArch and changed the VI refresh rate from auto to the lowest possible value. And it could just be placebo, or I just got really lucky with the beaver groups. But on the first attempt I tied my best score, and on the second try I got the 175 points needed to be done with this game. Unfortunately, I'm not done with beavers quite yet. And finally, it's time to enter the final world of the game, Creepy Castle. Completing the theme of all levels being alliterations, which I find pretty neat. I both love and hate this level. I love it for its atmosphere, living up to the name of creepy. I hate it for the focus on hidden rooms in a vertical layout. We are scaling a castle in this level, and there's so many entrances that we can walk into that contains different sections of the map, which causes a problem for me as remembering the path to the crypt versus the path to the interior, or is this the way to the museum or is this the way to the library? It's so confusing. So much so that I spent ages trying to find Funky in this level, which is a problem, as his ability is crucial to so many of the challenges in this level. It took me so long to find him that I ended up finding both fairies and the battleground. And getting the battleground in this level ended in disaster, as I was knocked out of the ring the exact second that I won the thing, forcing me to replay it all. This, like I said, happened before finding Funky. Funky's ability here is to allow us to zoom in when aiming the gun, a crucial ability to make sure the ammo doesn't despawn, because it comes out of view distance. Cranky is also in this area, and the lack of proper upgrades continues as we now upgrade our butt stomp from blue color to red color, and the final upgrade of the game is ours. With that in hand, or in ass I guess, we can properly get to exploring. And whilst I dislike the confusing layout, I am fan of the interior areas. They just fit into the style 100% and had their own unique style. So it was easier to find them. This might have given Japes a run for its money as my favorite area. At least level design wise. Because gameplay wise, oh boy, do we have some stinkers there. Let's start off with an actual trophy related banana. It's been a while since we had a coin gathering trophy, since Caves didn't have it, but luckily for us, the minecart segment is back. And this for me is the best iteration of it. We have what is essentially a boss fight in a kart rider format. We have to get to the end and dodge this giant ghost. What is cool is that this area loops, so any coins you miss on the first go around, you can get on the second. Having learned most of the tricks in the past 2 segments, I only need a couple of attempts to get this one. Which makes me wonder why this is the least earned trophy on RetroAchievements. It has less earners than a trophy we'll get to later that absolutely sucked. So I'm quite baffled at this information. And now over to the bananas that made me want to yeet my laptop out of the window. That did not give any trophies whatsoever. Ever heard of the wonderful minigame called Beaver Butter? You saw me quickly mention it back in Frantic Factory, and since then I haven't seen it show up. I barely managed to beat it then, and my heart sank once I saw it show up again here. Because these fuckers are the worst thing I have ever seen in a video game. Why are they actively running towards the wall when I bark at them to get to the hole? Why do they run in a circle around it? Why do they sometimes want to jump in and sometimes run away when I come at them at the exact same angle? I can only get between 7 to 2 remaining with no consistency whatsoever. Like, get in the hole, goddammit! And I wish I had recorded my live reaction to this. I was on the god run, and at the same time as the clock hit 0, the last one jumped in, and it did not count.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I screamed so loud, I think my neighbors were starting to wondering what the hell was going on in here. And when all else failed, I decided to do what worked the last time I had to deal with beavers. I changed the settings on the VI refresh clock from auto to 1500. And I swear this must be the answer, because I got it the very next try after changing it. I am so glad that is over. I spent legit over an hour on this bollocks. Wait, what is that sound? Oh no. Oh no. What do you mean there's a second minigame in the same freaking level that is also Beaver fuckings Butter? Rare, what were you thinking? Why is this garbage all clumped up at the end like beavers clumped up towards the wall? At least I knew the answer this time around on how to beat it. I immediately changed the refresh rate, and it took a few attempts, but I felt that I at least had a chance here. And I got this without too much hassle, and I will never, ever have to deal with these fucking beavers ever again. Let's turn this over to something positive, shall we? Tiny gets a new meeting with a race car in this level, this time without us having the ability to cheat. And even better, we are racing around in Frantic Factory, a treat to revisit. Besides all the minigame barrels themselves, I enjoyed most of the challenges needed to spawn them or get the golden bananas from. And if it hadn't been for Beaver Butter, I would have actually quite liked everything this level had to offer. Grinding out the remaining bananas from deadly mazes, grave robbery and target practice was a nice way to end the final proper level. The final level boss of the game. We have already had the rematches, and DK and Diddy got another time in the limelight, so it makes sense that this time it's Lanky? Huh, did not expect that. And K-Rool defenses are really getting worn out when the thing we're met by is a giant board cutout of the man himself. The gimmick here is that we need to shoot ourselves out of a cannon to hit it, making sure not to misfire, as that would end in the Kongs flying off stage, a new Kong spawning in, and that is seen as taking damage. An extra layer are these bombs in the water that floats towards you and try to blow you up if you get close, or if you just fancy being in your way at that point. In the first phase, we just need to hit him as he shows up. We can even get an early hit by running straight into the correct cannon when spawning in. In the second phase, it has a holographic decoy, and in the beginning I lost quite a few attempts there, since I had no idea what to look for, and it started to shoot lasers at me. And when I noticed that one of them was more blue than the other, I ran out of time getting to the correct cannon in time, blasting myself off the map. That is when I saw the correct cannon was highlighted with a light underneath it, so as long as I stood in an angle that gave me an overview of all the cannons, I could get to the correct one. The final phase took me even longer to get the strat down for. Gone is the holographic view, and he now just jumps around like a madman. Of course still shooting lasers, don't get me wrong. This just turned into a rhythm game, knowing that it went around in a circle at a constant pace. Using this knowledge, I could predict when it was gonna show up and get the final hits in. The final preparations for the real deal was sealed with a cannonball applied directly to the forehead of Chartabula Cruelicus. All that is left to do now is hand over the last key to Kalumsi to unlock Hideout Helm. But before entering the jaw of the beast in this case, we can defeat the final Kasplat to get the final of DK's overworld stuff, and do the final bonus barrel we will ever have to do as Funky. This is the final one, right? I am right to celebrate here, right? Entering Hideout Helm, we see that K. Rool is starting to panic. We have seen in a small cutscene that plays before entering the levels that he has gotten more and more paranoid, and the lackeys are getting more and more scared of the circumstances, and the Kongs are getting bolder and bolder. So he demands them to fire up the Blast-O-Matic to rush the launch. But luckily, our good friend Snide has used the blueprints to buy us some extra time. 48 minutes to be exact, since I forgot to turn in the last of my prints. But that should still be plenty of time to navigate a small obstacle course as lanky and chunky, shrink into the control room as tiny, pull a lever as DK, unlock the doors by flying through some hoops as Diddy, and then smash the metal bars down as Chunky, allowing each Kong to enter the rooms and get a few custom minigames to complete. These were fun, and I wish more bonus barrels were like this. By completing the 2 bears in a room, we take out 1/5 of the power source and get access to a banana medal. It is super important to pick them up now, because if we don't, we will lock ourselves out of the 101% completion if we die or re-enter the area, as they will lock the doors without any options of getting back in there. So I made super sure I had everything in order, and even made a save state if something went completely up shit's creek. Luckily it didn't, and with plenty of time to spare, the Blast-O-Matic is stopped. Before confronting Rool, there is one final thing to do, and that is the battle crown atop of the Blast-O-Matic. You need to fly up there as Diddy and survive for 90 seconds against 2 Kasplats and 1 Kremling. This is by far the hardest challenge I have done so far, because for a trophy we need to do this without killing anyone. And whilst the Kasplats are bulky, the Kremling is not, and will go down to 1 jump attack. So the strat is to run around in circles, because even if Diddy is a lightweight, he can kill the Kasplats by jumping on their heads too many times. So that is a viable strategy. I thought maybe using the cheese strategy of standing at the edge of the arena, where in some specific locations you will de-aggro all the enemies and make them just idle, could be the solutions. But the Kasplats still do their slam attacks, and dodging them while standing on the edge was nerve-wracking. I lost plenty of times doing that as well, even losing one with literally just seconds to go. Sometimes they would de-aggro, but still slowly walk up to me and just smack me in the face like I owed them money. So that wasn't it either. So this was a case of get good, and boy did I spend plenty of time getting good. But eventually I got down to the final 15 seconds when, oh, are you kidding me? Come on, man! There's a 3rd Kasplat spawning? Are you for real right now? This freaked me out so much that death was imminent, because trying to juggle 3 dudes at the same time was hard enough. Add a 4th one and you really got a party. A party I wish I wasn't invited to, but once I overcame the shock and about an extra hour of attempts, I find inner peace, I guess. Catching up to the Officer K. Rool means we finished the only war point in this level, and this is the last one in the game. This is the location we saw in the beginning of the game, and I must say, it's so cool to be able to visit this location. A fitting reward for making it this far. And I hope you've been getting your collectibles, because in order to get to K. Rool, we need 4 of the battle crowns in the game. And once we unlock the door, he runs away. So in order to rush after him, we need the final key that is locked behind the Nintendo and the Rareware coins. Hope you remember to collect those all those hours ago. Seriously, this is just too much. Getting those should unlock some cool secrets for completionists. Not be mandatory to beat the freaking game. Our reward though are 2 banana fairs that we snap together in one photo. And the final key, finishing our hoarding of the helm. Before we rush after K. Rool, we turn in the final blueprints to Snide, where yippee! Our reward for collecting them all is the ability to play some of the bonus barrel minigames on the ultra hard difficulty. And I'm so grateful to the developers of this set that they didn't force me to play Beaver fucking Bother again. I don't think I could have managed it. I think I would have given up on the mastery if I had to do that. But instead, we have to play the hard versions of slots, where we have very little time to line up 4 bananas 3 times. And this should be simple, but I struggle hard on this. Probably a patience issue. But luckily, I had a speed up button so I could quickly skip attempts where I saw it went sideways. Somehow, this took me about 40 minutes of real life time to get. But hey, 1 down, 1 to go. The other minigame we need to do is the minigame I spoke about at Crystal Caves, where we need to hit the banana and not the Kongs. I said back then that the timing was so narrow that hitting it legitimately was impossible, so I had to pause buffer. Well, here you can't pause buffer, so you need to do this legit. The trick I came up with was just to focus on 2 spots, and if it showed up there, hope I was quick enough on the draw that I managed to hit it. Sometimes the pattern just weren't on my side and I lost by the slightest of margins. And finally, I can say that I'm done with these stupid minigames once and for all. They can all go burn in a ditch for all I care. We aren't quite done with Snide just yet though, because the secret, I would say developer oversight, is that we are able to access the back rooms. By playing as DK and pressing the hidden command, we get teleported there, where we can test out the jump height, look at an idle shell of DK, and pop the clipping banana balloon. We need to reset the game to get out of here, and spawning back at DK Isle, I take Tiny over to the Banana Queen, where I can wrap a bow on a game-long side quest of retrieving all of the banana fairies. She thanks us and gives us the hidden rare banana, and Tiny's 6th banana in the overworld. With no more collectibles, no more extra retro achievement challenges, and no more time to lose, we deliver the final key to KLMC, releasing the lovable goof, and he goes on a chase after K. Rool that is trying to flee the island in his little aircraft. And living up to the name, Lumsy knocks K. Rool down by tripping on a big rock. That allows us to enter the lair of the beast, setting up the showdown of the century as we enter a boxing match in 5 parts. Each Kong with their own task, their own strengths, their own weaknesses, and most importantly, they all share a life, as we need to do this marathon of a final boss hitless. Starting off with Donkey Kong, we need to use the Baboon Blast ability to knock Rool down, all while dodging his tremor attacks, which is fairly simple once I realize I can just stand on the corner post at the beginning and rush to the next after a hit to negate all the difficulty. Once in the barrel, we need to wait him out as he shadow boxes and get him when he's gloating. We need to hit him 3 times, and each time he's getting progressively better at faking us out. Luckily, I learned if we hit our attack quick enough, we can get him in between the fake outs, saving time and making sure not to risk too much either. After the 3rd hit, he's down for the count, and only saved by the bell, by the absolutely not partial referees and timekeepers. Meaning it's time for Diddy to enter the fray, where oh boy, the rocket barrel rears its ugly head again, the most unruly of gameplay systems, trying to control this contraption. But before we even get into the barrel, we need to dodge this boxing glove that Rool throws like a boomerang at us, which, as I got better at the other parts of this segment, was the hardest part of it all. Trying to line myself up with a barrel once it spawned in and jumping into it whilst not getting hit was something I never got comfortable doing. Once we take to the air, we need to try and hit these targets that are on the spotlights. And these glows keep on hitting me from all over. Staying in place trying to aim, death sentence. Flying too close to him, death sentence. miscalculating the throwing speed because he throws the glow quicker once you're closer to him, death sentence. Eventually, I figured the strategy is to stay as far away to make it throw long and spend a long time to be able to throw again. And once the boomerang comes flying at us, we travel in an arch and it becomes a lot easier to hit the targets like this. This is still by far the hardest part of the fight, but this strategy ended up being the winning one for me. And with a lamppost stuck on his head, he is saved by the bell, and Lanky is up next. Lanky is a man with a funny face and a funny face. Rule is running around in a set pattern, and we need to hit the button on the outside using our long arms, which spawns the barrel that when thrown places a banana peel. So the goal is to line yourself up, play the instrument, and make him slip on a banana peel for peak comedy. We only need to make sure that we're quick enough so the banana doesn't despawn, and that we line him up good enough so that he doesn't turn away from the banana, and that we don't miss time picking up the barrel so that K-Rool runs us over. Like I said, he runs in a pattern, so knowing when to run and when to throw is fairly simple. Also knowing that we are safe by hugging the ropes makes this the second easiest stage after DK's. K-Rool eventually manages to get the spotlight off of him, and Tiny is up next. Back to a proper boss fight where he tries to squash us like a bug by stomping us with his butt. Meaning that we first and foremost must avoid tremors again, which ends a few runs as getting onto the corner post turned out to be a struggle for me. The butt stomps ends up being his downfall as his butt gets sore, and that allows us the opportunity to shrink down and enter his boot, where 4 disgusting toes needs pricking by our crossbow gun. That will be in our hand as we spawn in, but I don't realize that and lose many attempts by thinking I will shoot, but I just end up flicking my hair as the gun isn't equipped. The theme of predictable patterns continue as the toes will always move the same way based on which stage you are in. Well, almost. The first toe has 2 patterns that can occur, either a 2-1-2-1 or a 2-1-2-2-1 pattern, the number meaning which toe to stand under. For every toe we knock down, we need an additional hit on the next one. And I must say a big thanks to the comment section for this trophy, as Bashan the Rex posted a guide on which toe to stand under, making this segment so much easier. Like I said, I die to stupid mistakes, and sometimes even to nerves making me stand under the wrong toe, but after gathering my nerves, K-Rool knocks himself out after falling from being tickled, the timekeepers destroy the bell to save him one final time, and it's all up to Chunky. And the hardest part about Chunky's round is the nerves. At this point, we're about 8 minutes into this fight, and about 3 hours into this boss grind spread over 2 days. Heart is beating, weak knees, arms are heavy. Here we need to hit a button in the middle of the ring, turn invisible in the corner, and turn into Hunky Chunky, where we need to time a hit on a rushing K-Rool. Luckily for us, K-Rool runs in a pattern, making the timing for running into the middle and back to the corner consistent. As Hunky Chunky, his pattern is different. He runs faster and faster every round, turning invisible after a second hit and doing a zigzag pattern for the final round. Again, a big shout out to the comment section of the trophy for noting the perfect timing for hitting him, because I did lose a few attempts to bad timing in the beginning before I found that comment. But as K-Rool is scooting as only an invisible reptilian can, we line up the haymaker and smack him so hard in the jaw that we send him flying back to the SNES to finally be crowned the reigning champion. And with the help of Candy to distract the Gooner and Funky to give him the boot, we can hit the credit sequence where we can see the banana horde is back home and the game is a wrap. But we got everything the game had to offer. All 20 banana fairies, 10 battle crowns, 40 blueprints, 40 banana medals, 8 boss key, 3,500 colored bananas, 590 banana coins, 1 Nintendo coin, 1 rare coin, and 201 golden bananas to get the 101% completion of the Guinness World Record holder for the game with the most collectibles. And our reward is a behind the scenes showing of how the cast of DK got the role. Bloopers from the scenes, the fucking beavers taking over, and kayfabe breaking moments as we see Donkey Kong and Cruel K. Rool being buddies. Wait, K. Rool? Cruel. Oh, that's the pun. I get it now. But after 49 hours and 54 minutes, where 5 of those were spent on the final boss, and 4 of them were spent on Beaver Butter in Creepy Castle, but finally, Donkey Kong 64 is mastered. And there you have it. A long, long journey turning into a long, long video has reached the end of the road. And our first retro achievement mastering on my channel is a wrap. This was a blast and added a super fun element to replaying this old classic. Now, I started this video with a question of if the hate for this game is warranted. And the answer to that is simply no. Yes, the game has its problem, mainly with the backtracking and the scope getting out of hand. The last 3 worlds lack what makes the first 3 worlds excellent, which are tight level design with good landmarks. And the over-reliance on bonus barrels really hurt the game. If half of them were removed and the reward for some of the puzzles were just a banana and not a barrel, this would easily jump up a point overall. So going for 101% completion is not something I can recommend, as just finishing the game means you can skip some of the most egregious challenges. But with all that being said, the charm and fun factor can't be understated. All 5 Kongs, the 3 helper Kongs, and K. Rool himself oozes with personality. The intermissions when entering a level for the first time add so much character. Exploring the levels the first time is a blast. And like I said, the puzzles themselves are so well thought out. The coin gathering minigames, Beetle Race excluded, are some of the highlights. Every boss fight is so much fun, well, maybe not the rematch boss fights, and don't get me started on the soundtrack, which is quite honestly excellent from start to finish. So I can wholeheartedly recommend playing this if you're a fan of collectathons, which I am. But I for sure will be playing with the Tag Anywhere mod going forward. The backtracking is really holding this game back. But for a final hoorah, I'm glad I played it like this. And with that said, I will say goodbye to DK for a while, and I hope you're excited for more retro achievements, because I am most definitely gonna be doing more of these going forward. And for the next one, I'm introducing something this channel hasn't seen in a while. So stay tuned for that, and whilst you sit and wait, you can check out some of my PlayStation trophy videos, like how I got my 50th platinum in Sly's final game. So remember that, love guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!